The topic of my persuasive essay was tough. I tried to think of something that would be an important issue that needed to be covered, something that I thought people could relate to, and that they would know what I'm talking about. While our instructions said not to pick something that was too controversial, I have to admit that I somewhat ignored that counsel. I chose to talk about a serious issue that is plaguing our society today, the disbelief of unicorns. In this speech, I'm going to cover a brief history of unicorns, some different examples that we've had of unicorns, and the definition of reality. So let's start with the history of unicorns. Depictions of animals with one horn have been found dating back to centuries old. We have all the way even back to cave drawings of these one-horned animals. Then we have the Bible that talks about unicorns. We have Asia, like in Asia, we have different accounts of unicorns. Europe, all over the world, we're finding these different kinds of animals that have one horn. And in Webster's dictionary in 1812, it was stated that an unicorn was just an animal that had one horn. Whereas now, when we think of unicorns, we think of these mythical beasts that have special powers and things like that. We'll start with in ancient China, one of the early myths of a unicorn. What they called it was a qilin, and it was kind of more of a dragon-like creature. But an emperor by the name of Huang Ti was walking around his palace one day. He came across this qilin that was just kind of prancing around, and he took it as a sign of this omen of good luck. It turns out years later, and throughout his reign as emperor, he united the tribes of China. His people created musical instruments, and they also created bricks that they could make houses out of. And it was said that the qilin wasn't seen again until Emperor Huang Ti died, and the qilin came and brought him to the land of the dead. In going to the Bible, there are some versions of the Bible, like the King James version, that use a unicorn in it. One of the scriptures in particular it's in Numbers, and it's chapter 23. And when talking about the Israelites in Egypt, it says that God brought them out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of an unicorn. And in the Bible, a lot of times when they talk about unicorn and other things as well, but they talk about strength and purity, and a lot of times it's symbolic of Jesus Christ. Not all the scholars believe that it should be unicorn. The translation actually comes from the word reem, which is accepted as more of a cattle than a horse kind of figure that we typically think of a unicorn. And it usually has two horns as well. So it's a little bit different than our version of unicorn. But one of the greatest sources we can turn to in our time about mythical creatures would be Harry Potter. Harry encounters a couple different unicorns, which unfortunately were killed. As at one part, and when Harry goes into the forest, he gets in a little bit of danger, and a centaur by the name of Firenze comes and helps Harry Potter out, and he talks about a unicorn that was killed. And he says, "One who has nothing to lose and everything to gain would commit such a crime. The blood of a unicorn will keep you alive, even if you are an inch from death, but at a terrible price. When you have slain something so pure and defenseless to save yourself, you will have a half-life, a cursed life, from the moment the blood touches your lips." In Europe, it was very common in more medieval Europe that unicorns were considered this pure and virtuous creature, and it was said that no one could catch a unicorn or kill a unicorn because they were too fast, and only the blood, or my apologies, only the um, a virgin woman would be able to capture a unicorn's attention. Um, it's more symbolic, again, of purity than anything else. So finally, we have all of these different accounts of unicorns throughout the history of mankind. Yet today we believe that they're not real. But reality is more of a philosophical debate than rather than saying something is real or isn't real. We believe protons are real, even though we can't see them. Aliens, while some people don't believe they're real, I think I believe aliens are real, just because it makes sense that living in a universe as large as we live in, uh, that we aren't the only sentient beings. And so my suggestion is more that reality is what we believe to be true. Unicorns may or may not have special powers that we hear about in myths and legends, but I think it would be a travesty to say that unicorns don't exist just because uh, of these myths that are associated with the animals.